at risk of sounding politically incorrect, I think it's a bunch of entitled snowflakes.
The customers. So you don't think the company did anything wrong?
Not only do I think the company didn't do anything wrong, I actually think they were doing a very good, generous thing. They were trying to help support, which is losing them revenue and profits.
Episode 193 of the Dan Bradbury Podcast. You're doing good. You're crouching up on 200 pretty quick there, my friend.
Double centenary? Centenary?
Bicentennial?
Yeah, whatever. 200. All right, let's do it.
All right, theme for today is marketing. So let's talk marketing. And again, by the way, if you are tuning into this either on YouTube or on any of the podcasts, we've had feedback from only one person saying that we take the piss out of each other too much. So if you're watching this or you're listening and you like the banter, make sure you drop us some comments. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you give us a 5-star rating, and also leave some comments letting us know whether or not it's working out with the banter or not. But I will say today we're going to be banter light because we've got a lot to do. And what the viewers and the listeners don't know is that we've been in the studio now for almost 2 hours and not recorded anything because of technical glitches. But we are now live. Everything's working. We're at Mill Street Studios. We're ready to go. So let's get into this. Let's talk about some news of the week, my friend.
News of the week this week is about the cosmetic or skincare company Lush, and their results after 1 year after exiting social media.
Yeah, so let's back up because a year ago they decided. So the thing about Lush is that they're very proud that they don't put toxic chemicals in any of their products, and I just think this is amazing. Their CEO decided that even though their products were toxin free, their marketing wasn't because they used social media and they feel it's toxic. So they've pulled out of all social media.
I mean, how brave is this? I mean, this is
monumental.
This is not a small company, and yet it's pulled all social media channels. I mean, I can't even think of a comparison. It's just like, oh yeah, let's just not be on the internet.
Yeah.
Right?
By the way, first off, I really admire what they've done, and I agree with them, by the way. I think social media is incredibly toxic, and I've wanted to get off of it, right? But I sit there and I go, but that's how I market. And now this is getting me to think, well, if Lush can get away with it.
How is the other way? It's interesting, right? Because even not talking, I don't like the word toxic because there's too many connotations attached to it. It's a little bit too loaded. But we've had a conversation about this business, right? So like small business owner going, is it worth it? Like, where do you get your customers from? And sometimes people think because there's more there, that equals better. Right, but often you'll correlate. I mean, here's a simplistic example, Topher. From analysis of a lot of our customers' marketing sources, customers that come via referral. It's obvious, but come via referral might be worth 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 times as much as leads that come via social media ads. Right, so you kind of go, okay, so it's 10 to 1, so let's not pretend they're all equal.
Right.
But people go, yeah, let's market on social media. They don't go, okay, how do we maximize? What's our referral generation system? Mm-hmm. Right, and they just default go to social media, and it just might not be the most effective. So even parking the toxicity aspect, which I'm sure there's some validity and we can talk about that, but just from a what's most effective point of view to small business owners, in the last week or so, you and I have had a conversation saying, you know what, maybe we need to tone it down.
Right.
And then here's a company that came off it completely, cold turkey, but we missed the most important piece, Topher, the punchline. Let me just scroll through this article. Right, so the company, 12 months on after exiting it, they reported the highest Christmas retail trading figures in 2 years, right, with a 29 million pre-tax profit. So it was, despite there have been the radical boom caused by the pandemic, etc., in online social media, they've come off that, and yet they've still broken a new record high.
Yeah, and by the way, I think if the viewers and listeners are going, well, how did they do that? That's the question that everybody should be asking themselves, right? If social media was not a possibility, how else would you market? And that's what they did. And they came up with better solutions. They started doing product placement in movies. They made partnerships with Netflix. They started doing some really cool things.
Right. I was about to say, I mean, in terms of a strategy, it's harder to do, in my experience, but much more effective long-term strategic partnerships. Right, so you mentioned the Netflix one. They also did a deal with the slow fashion brand Lazy O. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, rather than doing what everybody else does, do something different. And oftentimes, if it's slightly more difficult, that's brilliant. Yeah. That's a competitive advantage because everybody else just goes, oh yeah, just put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram. You can tell I'm old on social media by the fact I'm referring Facebook in the current tense. You know, put it on Snapchat, put it on TikTok, right? And it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, but that doesn't mean better.
Right.
More doesn't mean better.
Yeah. By the way, a great teaser to the book of the week, which is directly related to this, even though the book is about how do you structure your market and your business model. These guys used similar strategies that we'll get to when we get to the book of the week in their marketing campaign, which is similar to what you just said, which is look at what everybody else is doing and then go somewhere else.
Right, create your own demand, not trying to fight over the same piece of pie.
All right, so now we bragged about the news of the week, and they're doing great. Let's talk about the fail of the week.
Fail of the week this week is in the category of everybody's favorite enemies at the moment. That's the energy providers. So specifically, it's the energy supplier, I think it's pronounced OVO. And they said, cuddle your pet to keep down your bills.
Now, this is interesting because I think you and I disagree on this one a little bit. Because when I read the article, I was like, yeah, that's kind of a stupid move, but you feel otherwise. So what did they do?
Yeah, so look, so this was a Financial Times article, and OVO, because people are complaining, cost of living, energy price increases, OVO basically issued advice, articles or a blog suggesting the way to cut your energy bills was things like having a cuddle with your pet, so cuddle your dog, eat hearty bowls of porridge, drink warm non-alcoholic drinks, right? And this was almost like in top 10. Now, I'm not with OVO, I'm with a different energy provider. And I can say to OVO, I've had exactly the same thing. Like, you see it everywhere. People are saying, oh, yeah, if you look on the main BBC News websites, it's like how to keep your energy bills low. And it's all advice and tips of saying, wear an extra jumper,
Yeah, but you don't think it's different when it's a news source giving you tips on how to keep warm versus the actual people who have raised your bill by 80% going, well, if you want to stay warm, cuddle your dog.
Listen, I'm always a bit wary. I think twice, Topher, because this is me talking to you, but I'm also aware we've got, thousands of our closest friends listening in, which may or may not align. But look, the risk of sounding politically incorrect, I think it's a bunch of entitled snowflakes. Like,
the customers are the entitled snowflakes. You don't think the business, OVO, did anything wrong?
No, not only do I not think OVO did anything wrong, I actually think they were genuinely trying to be helpful.
Come on! No way are they trying to be
they're being
helpful.
backlash. I mean, look at this. Like one of the quotes. Being told to put on a jumper instead of turning on your heating if you can't afford it is plainly offensive. That's one quote. There was another one in here that absolutely made me chuckle. Yeah, right. Somebody said, advice to eat porridge and eschew alcohol was like some Dickinson. How do you pronounce it? Dickinson nightmare, right? And then an MP said guidance was clown-like and depressing. I'm not sure if we're clean or not on this podcast. Do I swear on this podcast?
You swear all the time.
Okay, fine. Bluntly, fuck off. Just come on. Look, here's why this is ridiculous. And I want to be clear. I appreciate there are people genuinely struggling, right? They're genuinely struggling. I'm not so naive and up my own backside. Like, I'm in a very fortunate, privileged position, right? And I appreciate some people, and I know people. We've got friends, family, connections in my immediate circle where it's a real struggle, and there's real stress caused by the increase in heating bills.
But fuck them anyway.
No,
No.
I'm not saying fuck the people that are genuinely struggling. It's the snowflake, like, oh my god, it's so depressing, which isn't being said by the people that are in that. It's being said on behalf of those, but by the Labour MP Clive Lewis, if you're listening, for Norwich South. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's a political thing that they're using about, oh, the government aren't doing their thing. And to be clear, I'm not saying the government are great remotely, but I just, the company OVO have said, look, price is going up. And let's be clear, they're not gouging the customer.
I don't know about that. I don't know, but all I know is that in the U.S., our energy bills are going sky high, our fuel bills are going sky high, and yet those companies are making record-breaking profit.
All right, so let me do a obvious counter-argument. So everyone's like, oh, your retail price has gone up by, I'm making these numbers up for the record,
sure.
I'm not dialed in, but like retail prices have gone up by, somebody that lives within a few miles of this place, a family friend, who was in a blind panic. Oh my God, my electric bills have trebled.
Do they have a dog?
Yeah, trebled. I said, okay, let me have a look at it for you. I went and got stuck into her bills, like really analysed it. Do you know what it had gone up by? 27.1%. Now, don't get me wrong. This lady's on the breadline. That's a massive, significant difference.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so I'm empathetic. Okay, but the media blew up the hype about this stuff, which got her in a panic, and she was literally, well, I mean, frankly, she did have a mental breakdown. She had an episode. She had right. Because triggered by financial worries. So, like, I get it, but it was much more in her mind than the reality. And when we worked through it, now there's still, that equals X per month. I forget her actual monetary amount, and that's, £50 or whatever, which is a real amount of money for her.
For some people,
okay?
Yeah.
But, so if the company that is, because by the way, the wholesale price, the prices they're paying have gone up, okay? What, so the electricity companies shouldn't make a profit?
I tell you what, I think there's something to be said about that. Should utility companies be making a profit? I think it's a fair question to ask.
Okay, fine. And then even let's park that. Let's say back to this article. Let's just say, yeah, okay, fine. You're right. Maybe the utility companies are price gouging, even though I don't think that, because people would just switch providers if somebody else did it for lower money.
Well, see, that's interesting, because in the States, we don't have that luxury. We have one. It's a monopoly. So wherever you live, you have one provider.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So
put it this way. In my city, maybe some other cities, you might have
that's not the case in the UK. So people would just switch. So I kind of like, I remember these companies are the most CapEx intensive businesses that there are.
So it's not a monopoly, but it's an oligopoly. Oligopoly? Is that the right word? Oligopoly?
I don't know.
I think it's oligopoly. Yeah, where basically the three people that control 90% of the market determine the prices anyway.
Maybe, but to keep it simple, let's get away from the energy companies, because let's get specifically back to this article, because I was complaining about the people that are complaining and bitching and whining and moaning, right?
By the way, here's where I will agree with you. I do think, as a society, we have become far too sensitive, and we have this notion that if somebody offends us, we should get on a campaign to cancel them.
Correct.
And that
crazy
I
entitlement. So let's just call it what it was. So okay, fine. The energy company put the prices up, but they tell their customers, hey, if you don't like it, here are some things that you could consider.
Yeah, that's where I just think the ad campaign was really tone deaf.
Oh my God, I've hurt your feelings. Just look. Well, and then people take it to social media to complain. Just don't read the fucking email.
Is this our Christmas podcast, by the way? Is this the one, like, have you totally gone Scrooge on everybody during the holiday season? I think this might actually be
Yeah, I don't know what the publish
Christmas-
date for this episode
I think it
is, but it's going to be close.
Yeah.
And I will say,
Mr. Bah Humbug.
I will say,
You're going to be visited by some ghosts, my friend.
we do probably need to move on because my partner, she's listening to this right now and laughing. Let's just say that
Is she laughing with you or is she laughing at
No,
you?
at me. That Scrooge comparison has. Let's just say I'm at one end of the spectrum, she's at the other, and she doesn't look like no Ebenezer Scrooge. So
Right. All right. Let's move on to the hero of the week.
So the hero of the week this week is Mark Lewis. And Mark,
One of your favorite people on YouTube.
yeah, this is interesting though because I'm not really a social media guy at all in any way, shape or form. But in the last few months, I've started getting into YouTube videos.
I don't consider YouTube social media.
Yeah, neither do I. But I would say that I didn't even consider much YouTube content. Right, I'm a podcast listener. Great podcasts such as the Dan Bradbury Show.
Which, by the way, if you're enjoying, you should definitely subscribe to the podcast. If you're over on YouTube, give it a subscribe. Give us a 5-star review so they can boost that up. Yeah. By the way, even if you hate Dan right now because of his Scrooge McDuck attitude in the holidays, you can't battle hate with hate. So give him some love. Give him 5 stars.
You say Scrooge McDuck like it's a bad thing. I just think of like swimming on a pile full of gold coins, right? Anyway, but one of my passions, Topher, that long-time listeners will know is away from business is fitness, all things health and fitness. And I'm one of those weekend warrior types that
I've got 3 different sensors.
I've got
on
3
your body
different
right
wearables right now. I'll do any kind of gadget, any kind of test, any kind of supplement. Like, I love it. Like it's where I spend big, right? And I enjoy that. And there's a guy on YouTube called Mark Lewis his tagline is "Be above average." And what I like about him is it's not like elite athlete stuff. It was a guy that was classic, middle age, overweight, kind of abused himself, and over kind of a 5-10 year period, got himself from being morbidly obese to being like a real
The
athlete.
guy's fit as a brick house, man.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, and he's kind of 48, 49, or almost 50 years old.
To be fair, he has to be, though, because isn't his wife like a fitness model or something?
No.
No?
She didn't exercise at all either. They've become like a fitness couple.
Yeah, but she is now, right? She's like got more followers than he does, doesn't she?
I don't know. So the fact that you've been looking into this says more about you than it.
No, it's just because I've watched the interview that you had with him, and he was talking about how he expects 100,000 views on every video, and he did one that was going to get maybe 50 to 60, and then he goes, "But I put a screenshot of my wife in her bikini, and I'll get 200,000 or something." That's my only knowledge.
Right. Well, I will say, his wife's younger than him, and she's very attractive. She's an attractive lady. So I'm happy to admit that. But the 2 lessons here, Topher, that are relevant for all business owners. First of all, there's a lesson in marketing about the power of the avatar because his content spoke to me so well. Right?
Yep.
It was kind of like.
By the way, you've been talking about this guy to me for months, long before you had your interview with the guy.
Right, yeah. So, because it was speaking to me like somebody that's got busy, got a career, got a family, got kids, got pets, right, and busy, and yet trying to be fit, but not be an elite athlete, but like trying to be, as per his tagline, above average.
Yeah.
Just like, how do you get with the relative minimal input with a realistic amount of input? Like,
by the way, you like him for his advice. I like him because of his dry humor.
Oh, he's hilarious.
I love his jokes.
Well, and that's probably part of it as well, as in it's entertaining. So one lesson is about who's your avatar. So if you're listening to this guy connected with me, and therefore what's happened over? I consume all his videos. I became a subscriber of his on Patreon. And now he's selling merchandise. I bought things that he's endorsed that are definitely disclosed. He's getting an affiliate commission where he's recommending, like, I've got a new standing desk in my office, blah, 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 blah. He does product reviews. I got a Garmin that was on his recommendation, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not telling listeners, hey, you should go and be a YouTuber like him, but I think there's lessons of he's really found his niche. And despite being, again, only above average, he's not going to outrun, or in any competition, he's not going to be a winner, right? He's not going to be winning awards or medals.
See, that boggles my brain because I thought he was an elite athlete, and you're saying he wasn't. So that's interesting because I haven't watched his stuff because I'm not his avatar. But I've seen enough of his footage from what you've talked to that I think the guy's funny as hell.
Right. So one lesson is about knowing your avatar. The second lesson is the entertainment value, because and we speak a lot in this interview, which we're going to put in this week's show. We speak a lot about how do you do that? Like, how is he? Because he's gone from nowhere to from being a side hobby to it being his profession.
Yeah.
Because he's become a big time YouTuber, so it's a full time living for him. And again, not saying that the listeners want to make it full time living on YouTube, but the point is, it's engaging content. How does he craft engaging, funny, hilarious content? Because it's not just, here's the information, do this, because there's a million people that you could get for fitness tips, weight loss, whatever. But it's really engaging and funny for me, for his avatar. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lesson for people listening. How do you connect with your customers? So you're not shoving your stuff down the throat, but really create entertainment. So,
all right, well then let's get to the interview and hear what you had to ask him, because you spent almost an hour, in fact, over an hour with this guy on Zoom interviewing him about his marketing strategies on how he now can confidently get over 100,000 views on every video.
So, Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sure the guys have heard it in the intro, but I've become a little bit obsessed with your videos. Feels a bit strange saying this to another man, but I think I've got a bit of a man crush. I have binged watched all your videos, and I know there's a lot of fitness fanatics that listen to this podcast, but it's not just your videos. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I found you actually with your first Hyrox video, because Gary Rothwell, who's a client of ours, he recently won the World Championships at Hyrox in his age category this year.
Well, he's in the same age category as me.
Oh, right. Okay, good. Well, so it was Gary that came and said, Dan, you've really got to do Hyrox. And I looked at it and I thought,
I wasn't competing at the World Championships.
Next time.
He was lucky. He dodged a bullet.
Yeah. I'll let him know. Well, weirdly, you got to be careful what you let yourself in for, because I looked at it and went, oh, God, that scares the crap out of me. So I was Googling videos to kind of get the motivation and your video came up and I got hooked. So I'm doing doubles in Birmingham with Kevin, who's on my team here at the business. And then the following month, I can't remember where that one is. Is it
London?
London. Yeah, in London, I'm doing it with Gary because I was going to go it single. Yeah. But there were no single entries left.
No, it's sold out. Yeah.
We'll do doubles and I'll drag you around. So I've got the bar set, and then hopefully singles in Manchester next January. So that's
that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm doing mixed doubles in Birmingham, mixed doubles in London, and then I'm doing single pro in Manchester next year.
Impressive. Well, so let's get to the chase. Otherwise, I am tempted, Mark, just to ask you 1,000 fitness questions. But the guys listening, go and check out your channel. If you're into fitness at all, you'll absolutely love it. But I'm going to dive in at the middle. So I've been super impressed. Anybody that's got over 100,000, you're 100,000 subscribers at the time that we're recording this on YouTube. I was exploring the channel as a medium for finding clients, finding customers, and I'm curious as to what catches people's attention. So one thing that I noticed was that there are an awful lot, with increasing frequency over recent months, of videos involving your wife. And so if I get this straight, you voluntarily chose to become your wife's kind of trainer, as it were, for 3 months. And get her trained up for Hyrox. So the question is, are you just stupid, or do you just like to poke bears to see what kind of scars they leave?
I mean, actually, it's a good question because it's a almost purely business related answer, which is that I stuck my wife in because it generates views. The YouTube, the dilemma for me with YouTube is that there is a sort of video that I like to make, which is quite self-indulgent and ones that I watch and I enjoy literally watching my own stuff. But then that has to be balanced against what I know will work for a larger audience. And it's a constant balance because there are videos that I could make that are very typical of a lot of fitness YouTubers who'll do things like, I ate 10,000 calories this morning and tried to burn it this afternoon, and that kind of cliche stuff. And there's, if you do that and that works for you, that's great. That's not for me. I don't see the value in that. That just appears to be very it's not for me. So I'm constantly trying to find my way between doing stuff that I want to do, but also it has to be a commercial point to it. Otherwise, nobody will watch it, and then YouTube becomes just a time dump for me that doesn't make any money. And it has to originally it had to at least cover its costs. Now it's my job; it has to pay my bills. So yeah, I looked at my numbers. My numbers were, as they are for all fitness men, 99% men, and fitness women are watched by 99% women. Women think and men think that men are watching women and vice versa, but in reality that's not happening. What tends to happen is that women will watch other women and men will watch men. And yeah, I just wanted to broaden my demographic, so I stuck my wife on. And it's brought women into watching the channel, which is great because I now get emails from people every single day saying, I'm a 65-year-old female in whatever Nova Scotia. And watching your wife has been inspiring, and I'm going to go and take the dog for a walk, and we're going to eat less donuts tonight because of what we've seen. And to me that's awesome. They wouldn't have watched me necessarily, but because they're watching another woman doing it, they buy into that. And it also just broadens out as well because my wife Jenna is at a different level of fitness to me. One of the criticisms that I got a little bit was that I was often talking about how what I was doing could be done by anybody, which I truly believe. And if you're of average fitness, you can do what I do. I don't actually do anything that's particularly athletically incredible. I mean, far from it. I get beaten in most of the things I do. But I am above average, and people would say, oh, it's not really relatable. You're too far ahead of where I want to be. So I thought, well, actually, let's stick Jenna on. She's a beginner to fitness, and she can then be the people that if somebody wants to see an absolute beginner, they'll see her. And so it was purely about just tapping into a broader market.
How important, Mark, is, let's elaborate a bit more on demographic and target customers, because it's interesting to me, and perhaps, if you're listening at home, if you think about who is your ideal customer, how do you speak to them? Because part of the appeal of your channel is I've got 3 young-ish children, and they're all obsessed, and they've all got their YouTubers they follow, and I hate some of the exaggerated or kind of controversial content, and it's not helpful. Yeah. And I suppose your videos resonated because of the moniker above average. And if you read the comments on your threads, it's people going, yeah, that's very helpful. It's practical. So it's almost like you found a niche without being kind of extreme one way or the other. Like how important is that? And how did you come up with that?
So my target demographic, if there is somebody, is basically me a few years ago. So somebody, I'm 48 now, but it's somebody in their early 40s who is out of shape, maybe was once, but isn't now. Their kids have caused them to kind of give up on themselves and just become an eating machine that looks after their children, and then suddenly gets to 40s and thinks, bloody hell, I'm going to be, I'll be dead soon. Have I got any opportunity left to salvage some life for me? And there's me on YouTube saying, yeah, of course you can. Put the kids to one side for a moment, they'll be fine. Go for a jog. In fact, your kids will probably appreciate the fact that you'll still be alive when they're 18, 19, 20, rather than you took them to an extra game of football when they were 11, but then had a heart attack. So a lot of my stuff was basically that. It's just saying to people, look, hang on, look after yourself, and everybody around you will benefit from you doing that. So that's the target. It's me a few years ago, but it got broader and broader and broader, and I was getting emails from people in there. I get emails from people all the time in their 70s or 80s, people saying, absolutely, you know, you are never too old. I find that inspiring, and I love getting an email from someone 80 saying, I'm, you know, running a marathon tomorrow. That to me at nearly 50, to know that in 30 years time I can run a marathon still, because he is, that's inspiring. I also get emails from kids, because I make all my kids watch a video. They take it in turns to watch videos. So my kids are teenagers or early 20s. I like the idea that they find them funny, because a lot of my stuff is, I try and be entertaining. So I like the idea my kids watch it, and so I do get some younger people watching it. But basically the numbers start at 45-year-old men, and then they go down as it goes out. But I do get a broader demographic than many. I know, and that's even reflected in things like the sponsors that I get, and the advertising revenue I get is not too bad. If you are doing a channel that is being watched by 14-year-old kids that just want to see somebody being controversial and dramatic and you know, starting their channel by saying, what's up everybody, all that kind of cliche stuff, you are probably going to get lower levels of revenue for your advertising revenue on YouTube, because people don't want to stick an advert for something like, I don't know, sorting out your self-invested personal pension on an advert that's going to be watched by a 14-year-old kid. But actually on my videos, that's exactly the sort of adverts I get running on my videos. So yeah, so the demographic that I went after was me, but then it's broadened out from that. And I love giving people at the ends of the spectrum, but I appreciate they're not, certainly at the lower end, they're not who I'm targeting. I would love for them to watch, because I think my content is often more valuable than some of the gibberish they're watching. But equally, I don't want to, you know, I'm not their dad. If they don't want to watch it, yeah, I appreciate they have their own taste.
How do you decide upon content? I mean, I'm also going to loop back in a bit and talk about humor, because I personally find your videos very, very funny, and I want to talk about the scripting as well, because I'm trying. Hopefully, the listeners or the viewers will see that I'm just recently. I've just recorded videos that are just starting to drip out with higher production quality. But when you're designing the content, how do you decide the hook? Are you coming up with kind of the clickbait headlines first and then building out content from that, or do you just go with what interests you? How do you decide?
So first of all, I go what interests me. Number one, I'm on a few new YouTuber forums and so on for new YouTubers. One of the questions that I ask on there a lot is people saying, what sort of content? I want to be a YouTuber. What sort of content should I make? I think what a dumb question. That's like somebody saying, I want to be a musician. What instrument should I start with? Well, you know,
Right.
why don't you start loving an instrument and then worry about whether you can be a musician? So for me, I need to enjoy the content that I'm doing, which typically it's been my journey. So for example, HYROX is a good example. I wanted to do HYROX. It just seemed like a cool thing to do. So I made some videos about it. I'm doing an ultra marathon in a few weeks. I just wanted to go and do one, and it seemed like a cool thing to do. I make a video about that. So it's my journey with my wife at the moment, training together. It follows that, and then every now and again we will drop in stuff that is a bit clickbaity, but also has some value behind it. So for example, I've done a series of videos on me comparing my athletic ability, what it is, against people like Eliud Kipchoge, marathon runner, Bradley Wiggins, cyclist, Steve Redgrave, rower. I've got one coming up on Tom Bosworth, who's world champion speed walker, which would be amazing, because the speed he goes at compared to my run is embarrassing for me as a runner. I'm doing one on Hunter McIntyre, the HYROX world champion. And those are a bit clickbaity, because they're kind of like, look at me get destroyed by somebody that's much better. That has a clickbaity feel to it. But it also has some value, because people watch someone like, for example, I did Mo Farah. I did 5K, 10K against Mo Farah's times. And when you watch Mo Farah running around a racetrack on TV, you think, oh, he's jogging fast. And he's not jogging fast. He's going at the speed that most people can't sprint at. But you have no comprehension of that if you're a normal person, or even if you're a good runner. I mean, I'm a good runner, but I can't do one lap of a racetrack as fast as he's doing, 20. So I plonk myself on the racetrack. I try and run a lap as fast as he does 20, and I can't. And so not only is that clickbaity and entertaining in that way, it's hopefully something that makes people sit back and go, that's actually really interesting. I had no idea that guy was that fast. And then on top of that, I throw in some jokes because just because I just like the creative process of writing jokes. That's just something I enjoy doing.
Why do you think some videos get more views? I mean, I had a look just before we started recording this, Mark, and I saw that the Kipchoge, how fast is Kipchoge running video had over 2.5 million views. And if I look back on your channel, it feels like, a year ago. So it seems most of your videos now get tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of views. And just a year ago, many of the videos were just in single-digit thousands. And yet there was the Kipchoge all of a sudden got 2.5 million.
It's almost annoying, actually, because I feel that my content, I started out as I meant to go on in terms of content production values and so on. Excuse me. So some of my early videos that no one's ever watched are actually really good. I keep thinking that I'll do a video one day where I do nothing but recommend people go and watch my old videos to see how good they were, because they're kind of underappreciated. But the reason some videos kind of go off and just get a life of their own is there's two things. But so part of it is, well, three things actually. Part of it is tapping into a current theme. So if you make a video about let's say Wimbledon's on, and I did a video about am I as fit as some random tennis player, that kind of content works because people are searching for Wimbledon and it just comes up. So there's an element of that. I don't do that too much, but you can tell who does, because whenever there's a big sporting event on, lots of fitness YouTubers will do I trained like Lewis Hamilton or whatever, all kind of cliched nonsense stuff. So there's that, but most of it comes down to luck. You've got to you make your own luck. You've got to be, if you have a rubbish video, you won't get lucky with it. But you can have a great video that doesn't do well, bad luck, and you've got a great video that the algorithm sends to a few different people, and those people click on it and watch it. And then YouTube algorithm will think, well, if they're watching it, let's try some more people. And if they watch it, then before you know it, it crescendos. So with the Kipchoge video, the numbers on that video are quite interesting, because the percentage of people that get shown the thumbnail for it and click on it to watch it is tiny. It's about 3%, which is, for me, that's a low click-through rate, they call that CTR. My CTR is normally much, much higher. But what happens is that YouTube realizes with some videos, we can send this to 300 million people, and we only, if we're getting 3%, that's actually pretty good. It would generate millions of views. So what happens is when your videos kind of get picked up by the algorithm to be thrown out there to the masses, your numbers appear to be going down, but your views as a monetary number are simply just going up and up and up, because you don't need 3% of, 3% is fine when it's 3% of a zillion people that have been showing it. So a lot of it is just luck. It's the algorithm. And I watched that Kipchoge video go up and up, and it made no obvious sense as to why that was happening. And then this is where your luck makes your luck, because it does well, you'll get things like Men's Health magazine will put it on their website online, because they just randomly take popular YouTube videos and promote them to get people to click on them. So that then starts to happen, and then basically then people all
it becomes an upward spiral, I guess. It becomes self-reinforcing.
Yeah, you snowball upwards, because everybody wants. The mistake you make is everyone thinks your video is great. That isn't what's happening. Everybody wants a piece of your audience. So if they know that there's millions of people watching something, they will want that on their site, because then your audience will be watching their adverts too. And that's fine. That's YouTube is paying for itself through advertising. Everybody is online, so that's how that happens. Basically, people see an audience. They don't really care what the video is within reason, and they'll run with that. And even newspapers do that now. You'll get the Daily Mail will run articles on something that, well, actually, when you look into it, is nothing more than a tweet, but it got a lot of views, and so they'll know that we don't really care what the tweet is about. Journalism, who cares about that? It's got views behind it. There's people behind it. they'll see our adverts, boom,
I
and it just blows up.
I suppose, you know, the key, and I think of the business owners listening to us now are, you want to get views, yes, but you don't want any views. You want it to be the target market. And I suppose it's not just every time getting new views, it's building a subscriber base and people that follow your content. So I think I mentioned at the start, I found your High Rocks video. I then binge watched a load. I think my kids were away, my partner was away at the weekend, and so I binge watched a load of them. And then I subscribed to the channel, and now I'm awaiting this week's video, Mark. So I suppose from a building subscribers, do you have a particular strategy for building subscribers? In fact, or is being married to a hot wife one of the steps? Because quite clearly, so you're punching above your weight.
It kind of is. I mean, you have to. I mean. The subscriber thing is interesting because subscriber numbers mean nothing in terms of revenue. You know, if you have 1 million subscribers but no one's watching your videos, pointless. Equally, there are plenty of people out there with low numbers of subscribers but will have zillions of views. Those guys are making a fortune. Now, normally the two correlate, but not always. So for me, I do watch the subscriber numbers, and it's nice. But I don't watch. For example, it's just gone over 130,000. It wasn't long ago. It was 100,000. So I've made 30,000 subscribers in a few months. It took me to get to 30,000. To get to 30,000 subscribers took me, as a percentage of how long the channel's been going, for about 90% of the lifetime of the channel. So the numbers just become a bit irrelevant after a while. The subscriber numbers, it all becomes about views. But because of the style of my content, which is very much follow me on my journey, learn about me, know who my wife is, and basically get to what you've discovered, which is that it is content you can binge on because it's going to be very samey. You know what it's a bit like watching Top Gear of old. You know those three guys.
Just to be clear, back in the proper days when it was Jeremy Clarkson.
And I haven't watched it since. I don't even care who's on it now. So yeah, when it was Clarkson and Hammond and May, you knew those guys. You knew what their characters were like, and it didn't really matter. And this is crucial. It didn't really matter whether they were going to be driving Ferraris or boats or bicycles.
Right.
Because you knew them. You knew that James May was going to be slow on whatever he was riding, and Clarkson would be
mental, go crazy.
Yeah, is this a family friendly? Do I was going to swear?
It is. No, yeah. No, you can swear away. I normally
okay. So Clarkson's a bit of a fucking tool, but that's his thing, isn't it? That's just his thing. You knew he was going to be that, and Hammond's going to be tiny with he went in a kind of bead necklace every day kind of phrase. You know what you're going to get. And so with my channel, I tried to do that. Someone said to me a while ago, so you kind of Top Gear fitness, you don't really know what you're doing. You know more than average. Those three guys on Top Gear can drive cars better than the average guy because they're just exposed to it all the time. They're not racing drivers.
Yes, correct.
That's me. I'm better than average at most things fitness-wise because I do it for a job, but I'm not great. So I'm relatable. And hopefully, I try to create a world on the channel where people just know that if it's me doing something, they're going to get the same sort of jokes, the same sort of approach to that sport, whether I'm doing rock climbing or boxing or, I've got a whole list of things I want to try.
Tell me about jokes and stories, because I heard you describe it this way once, is like you like to tell a story, and I've noticed on your channel, and perhaps that's one of the things that makes it addictive, that, like you said, like a Top Gear, you know there's regular sections within the video, as it were, and I've got familiar with that, but also across videos there's themes, like, so for example, you're monitoring Jen's training from a complete newbie through to training up for High Rocks, and so it's kind of like we get dipped in with updates as to what's going. So
yeah,
what do you give how do you structure your content? And I suppose mixed in with that, how do you make it so damn funny?
Well, do funny last. So I like the idea. A YouTuber that I followed when I very first started doing YouTube was a guy called Casey Neistat, who he kind of revolutionized how YouTube content would look or could look. He came from a filmmaking background, and so he he kind of pioneered the idea that when you approach the camera on your scooter in New York where he lived, you'd set the camera up and you'd approach it and you then start talking to it the way you would a film or a documentary. Whereas in the past, people never thought to sort of set their cameras up and film themselves. They weren't doing that. So I watched his stuff, and one of the things he spoke about was each video needs to be a story. It needs to have set up, conflict resolution. The same as I'm a big movie fan, and every movie has that. So I like my videos to have a set up, a conflict, and a resolution. So here's what I'm going to do. Oh, am I actually going to do it? Oh, yes, I did. That's what it is. So everything has a little arc to an individual video. When I watch other people's videos, sometimes I'll be watching it and there'll be like a day of my eating or something, and they're going to get to 9 o'clock at night and they go, right, I just ate my last meal. See you on the next one. And it's kind of like, well, the video just kind of finished because you'd kind of finished filming it. There wasn't any arc or narrative to that. I like to have for every single video a start, middle, and end, callbacks all throughout to tie the whole thing together. For me, I think of it like if I grew up watching things like Friends, Seinfeld and stuff. That's how I view a video. 25 minutes of an arc where the joke at the end will call back to something at the beginning. So individual videos. Then on top of that, I like to have a running theme that goes across all the videos. Again, a little bit like a sitcom where there'll be individual jokes that are specific to that one episode, but there'll also be the whatever, Friends, Phoebe's having a baby this season thing, or the Monica and Chandler thing. It's like that. And then there's the permanent callback to the Ross and Rachel. So to me, I like to have that. I like to have the idea that people know that, like, my Ross and Rachel joke is maybe my Rocky session. So people know that I'm going to drop Rocky things all over the place. The same as they know that watching Friends, they're going to hear oh, we were on a break. It's that kind of callback thing. And then smaller is like at the moment, me and Jen were training. That's this season's thing. That's this season's little narrative arc. So I try and structure it like that. Does each individual video stand on its own with an arc? Yes. If you take a step back and you watch 10 in a row, do you see a theme that runs throughout? And equally, if you jump back and watch a video from 2 years ago, are there elements there that you'll see today? And there are that as well.
It's so funny, Mark. Because I can relate. As you're saying it, I could like, for those who won't get this reference if they haven't been to your channel, but there's like the donuts
Yes.
reference. Like it's ubiquitous across all the videos, and it's
See, to me, that's like watching Friends. That's like Joey. How you doing? It's that kind of it's that kind of thing where Joey's just going to do that. How you doing line? That's just or the Fonzie giving a thumbs up, depending on how old your viewers are. It's that for me. That's donuts. They're the things that just make people go, okay, I get it. This is a Mark Lewis video. It's
right. So how do you build in the humor? Actually, my brain's gone in two different directions simultaneously, which it frequently does. One is about talk about scripting, in the sense that I think that a lot of I've certainly been guilty of this. In this world, everybody just puts a video on and then they upload it and wonder why it doesn't work. And partly there's a production content thing. So I've got a decent microphone here, I've got a different light, but I think more so it's just the core content. It's because there's no edits. They just chat and ramble, which is a little bit like we're doing today, but this will definitely be edited before it goes out to cut out some of the inane babble, mostly from me, I suspect. But like, how do you... I'm asking two questions. How do you edit? But then also, how do you make it funny? Because I think people...
Well, they're the same question. Well, it's the same answer. So years ago, now 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I did some stand-up comedy. Just because I'd always wanted to do. I always thought, when I was working in the job that I'm about to wind up, I work in financial services. From the very, very outset, I knew that I had to do that job because it paid too much to not do it. But equally, I didn't enjoyed it. I didn't mind doing it. It didn't feel like what I was supposed to do. I'm not in any way religious, but it was not it didn't feel like what I was put on earth to do would be the way to describe it. People then start thinking that I'm kind of referring to having been placed here by some godly entity. That's just how I felt. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I would watch back then people like Ricky Gervais becoming famous. I mentioned him because he's from Reading, around the corner from me. And I just remember thinking I could do that. I just remember thinking, when The Office first came out in the UK, I remember thinking, oh, I get that. I understand that. I can. In fact, this goes back. I thought this the other day. I remember as a very young kid watching Cheers on TV. And Cheers, and there's Ted Danson and his girlfriend are out on a boat. They go out on a yacht, and she falls overboard because he pushes her, I think, because they're in an argument. And she's bobbing about in the ocean. She goes, "Oh, throw me a line," and he goes, "Oh, what's a nice girl like you doing an ocean like this?" And I can remember, I would have been very young, but I can remember not only loving that joke, but also understanding exactly why it was a joke and why it worked. And I can just remember thinking, a bit like a musician might just kind of hear music and know how to play it. I can remember hearing that joke as a kid and suddenly understanding comedy, or at least that style. And so I'd always wanted to do it. Did some stand-up comedy. When I did stand-up comedy, I learned very early on that everything is scripted to within an inch of its life. I can remember downloading a Chris Rock script that was the script of, I think, Bigger and Blacker, maybe, one of his stand-ups. I think it was that one. And I can remember reading the script and thinking, there's not enough words on this page. This can't be the actual script. I watched the DVD with the script in my hand and realized that's exactly what it was. It was word for word. He just doesn't say very much. When you watch him, you think he's saying everything he needs to say. But there is not a single superfluous word at all, not one. So when I started doing stand-up, I would script what I was going to say. I'd go through it, and every single word that didn't need to be there would be removed. So I learned how to write comedy by doing that. And then when I came to doing comedy within YouTube, I learned very early on that I couldn't do what some YouTubers do, which is to grab their camera, walk around, and just sort of vlog their day by just rambling about what they're doing. I couldn't do that. I would, like now, I'd struggle as to what my next word was going to be, and I didn't like how it looked. YouTubers get over that by then cutting and editing the thing together to create that very YouTubey look of smash cuts from one bit to the next. It's a very YouTube look. I didn't like that. I wanted to have a production look that looked a bit more sitcom and a bit less YouTube. So I just thought, well, why don't I just sit at my desk and run commentary over the top of stuff I filmed out and about, rather than trying to film and talk out and about,
right?
And then getting home and thinking, there's a great joke I could do. Well, we'll go home and write a joke. So what I do now is I go out. High Rocks is a perfect example. Me and my wife go to High Rocks. My wife will film me competing. I don't have to worry about what I'm going to say. I just compete. I get home, I look at the footage, and I think, okay, what's the story here? And I then write that story using that footage as the backdrop to it. And it means I can get the jokes in. It means I can put a callback in. It means I can, if I get to the end and I want to find something funny, I can pull it from something at the beginning and tie the whole thing together. If it's too long, I can tighten it up. If there are individual words, literally individual words that aren't needed, take them out of the script. And you end up with a script that has no ums, no ahs, doesn't have cuts all over the place. If it has a pause to put a movie clip in, I had to drop in movie clips for fun. I know exactly what movie clip's going in there before I even did it. It looks like it's very natural. It is natural, but it's not in a way. It's as scripted as, well, people actually say, "Oh, I'm disappointed. It's scripted." I thought it was, and I say, "Disappointed? Are you?" Because you understand that every movie you ever love is scripted, and every song you ever listen to is scripted. Every stand-up, nearly every stand-up you watch is scripted. Everything you think is, whatever. I love that Bruce Springsteen track. Well, he sat down with a pen and paper and wrote that.
Right.
Right. So I quickly gave up any sort of concerns that people would go, "Oh, script," and thought, no, actually, that if you say to me, what's the funniest, greatest, whatever, most dramatic, whatever art it is you're looking for, that's spoken or sung, it comes from a script. Very
Talking
little is improvised.
Talking to Ricky Gervais, it was interesting. I watched a video of him recently where he was interviewed, and he was talking about the Will Smith Chris Rock slap incident.
Yes.
And but the interesting thing that most people will have missed, he was talking about that night. He wasn't at the ceremony. He was out performing, but he was performing to a tiny audience because he was practicing new material.
Yeah.
And he was commenting about how he threw out his joke was that he threw out that he didn't have a joke. He didn't have a joke about the situation. Or the joke was something like, "I wouldn't have commented on Will Smith's wife's hair. I would have commented on her boyfriend." Right?
Yeah.
But the point that people I think missed is, yes, that was him telling a joke in the interview, but the real point was, no, I'm sure he was actually out practicing new material to a tiny audience, and we just get to see most of us get to see the polished, finished act when it's refined, on Netflix or whatever. And we go, that's unbelievable. But that is so. I just read Steve Martin, Born Standing Up.
Right. Yeah.
And if you look at how many years, or in his case, decades, went into refining the art of being funny, which.
And in Steve Martin's case, you see him on stage back in the 70s, and you think it's almost like he's kind of staggered out on stage and just makes up as he goes along. But everything is scripted. Every single I still do. I listen to people like Jerry Seinfeld talk. He talks a lot of sense about comedy and writing, and is just a master of, whether you like Seinfeld's comedy or not. Jerry Seinfeld's writing is just as tight as you can get. I mean, there is no word. As Chris Rock, the same as well. In fact, Chris Rock is almost an exaggerated version of it. Chris Rock can come out on stage and talk for 3 or 4 minutes, and then you'll realize he said a handful of words, but each one is just punctuated perfectly and delivered perfectly, because he's done it 100 times, 1,000 times already. And as I did, I did stand up for a very short time, but I would go and I would do horrible open mic nights where it's just grim.
Get crucified.
Horrific. I mean, not so. In a way, open mic nights, they're not as bad as people think, because everyone's expecting you to be rubbish, and I wasn't rubbish, but it's still, sometimes it's three men and a dog and a barman are listening. That's it. But you learn. Is that word needed? Is there a better way? If I put that word in front of that word, I mean, it really does come down to that. It does come down to, do I want to finish the sentence on that word or that word? And when I say things like, if I'm talking to someone to stand up, they'll go, yeah, I get that completely. And so too would script writers. If you're talking to someone that writes, but anything, if you write, you'll understand that. But most YouTubers, and many YouTubers, are making millions of pounds, so they don't need to listen to me. But what they aren't doing is writing material. That's just not what they're doing. And so to them, the idea of worrying about what word should come before another, and those things are just neither here nor there. To me, because I do my own editing, I know exactly where a scene is going to cut, another one's going to start. I love, and I really love, it's the best part for me, that creative process of having the raw footage and a rough script, and then honing it to something that is as tight as I can make it.
It's funny, Mark. You can tell that this conversation isn't scripted, because my intent for this video was to inspire people to get a bit more into YouTube, and we probably now just scared the crap out of them about how hard and how it's going to take decades.
Well, it's actually easy to get into. It's hard to do the way I do it, and I should add, again, the way I do it is not a recipe for how to do YouTube successfully. It's a recipe for how I do YouTube and value what I do. I could make more money, perhaps. I could get more views, almost certainly, by doing it differently. I could certainly spend less time on it by doing it differently. But I go to bed at night knowing that the video I would have put up that day was how I wanted it to be, almost. There's Casey Neistat, again, referring back to YouTuber from the past, always had a saying that there was perfection is the enemy of good enough, and there is a point where you think this video I could watch it again and tighten it again, but to what end? There comes a point where diminishing returns. So once you're at 95%, you're good to go. But for me, I like to get to 95. I enjoy getting to 95%. I enjoy literally taking out, 2 or 3 frames, fractions of a second, at the end of a cut to make the joke appear a bit tighter than it was previously.
Right.
Little things like that. I mean, I did the video that I put up recently, had me and my wife sat here having a little interview between the two of us. And we had a little kind of argument at the end about whether I told her to train or whether she wanted to train. And she said to me, oh, well, if you're going to take the credit for me training, then I need to take the credit for you doing YouTube, because she didn't. She did tell me to do YouTube. And I kind of say, yeah, we're done here, and then go back to something else. And I spent probably 15 minutes working out exactly where to cut it after saying, yeah, we're done here, and to make it as funny as it was. Because at the time I said it, and I go, yeah, we're done. She goes, cool, I'm going to get a sandwich in it, and off we go.
Right.
But by the time I finished editing it and making it tight, the amount of people on that video who then commented, oh my God, when she says, when you said, oh, we're done here, and that was hilarious. And it wasn't hilarious at the time, it became hilarious because I thought, oh, there's something funny there. But like a sculptor, you then have to chisel it away, but not too much to have it as funny as it can be. And again, anybody doing sitcom or stand-up will understand that you got to hit on that line and that word, and in YouTube land that just doesn't happen. And again, isn't necessarily needed. There'll be people, I'm sure, listening with people out there with millions of subscribers and views and all sorts that never give any of this a moment's thought. And good luck to them. The way I view it, which sounds incredibly pretentious and egotistical, Martin Scorsese hates the Marvel films. He would never make a Marvel film. He doesn't like a Marvel film. The Marvel films crush Martin Scorsese's numbers, but Martin Scorsese doesn't care. I like the, and I'm not saying I'm a Martin Scorsese or YouTube by any stretch, but I would rather make Goodfellas and be done with it than make 100 Marvel films and be a zillion.
So I'm just going to interrupt. It's funny, and there's a lesson in here for everybody that hanging out, you become like the people you hang out with. So even us having that conversation about comedy, when you were just saying then about, I'm not comparing myself to Martin Scorsese by any stretch. In my head, I just saw a flash on the video, like I saw the joke. I'm gonna get in the post edit put up. He blatantly does think he's like Martin Scorsese, or what would? Yeah. Hopefully, people listening get the point. Well, they'll hopefully see it in the edit. I've done some really cool joke, but you start to get a sense of where the joke could come in. So
yeah, but that's an interesting point, because that's exactly, because what I'll do, I write my script sat in my sauna. I sauna every night for an hour or so, and I write in the sauna until my iPad gives up because of the heat. And often the joke isn't. Sometimes the joke is immediately obvious, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it will appear. Sometimes, for example, I'll give you an example. I haven't written it yet. I did a bike ride the other day. Here's a perfect example. I haven't written this video at all yet. I don't know what I'm going to do. I rode my bike the other day. I climbed Alpe du Zwift, which is an online computer game. Zwift. You cycle up a big hill. It's very, very tough. My saddle on the bike broke, so I thought, that's it. I'm going to get off. It was too hot in the garage as well. It was horrible. I thought, no, I'm going to stand up on the pedals. I'm going to climb out the Zwift. Stood up. Bonkers. Who does that? I thought, well, I'll do that. And as I'm doing it, I was thinking, oh, this is stupid. I should do this tomorrow. And I kind of thought, no, there is no tomorrow, which is a line from Carl Weathers' Apollo Creed in Rocky 3.
Right.
When Rocky's going, oh, we did tomorrow. And there is no tomorrow. So all I have at the moment is footage of me climbing this thing online. And in my head, the idea that somewhere there'll be there is no tomorrow live from Apollo Creed. That's it. That's all I've got. By the weekend, there'll be a video up, and it will look like a whole structured thing took place with that in mind in advance. And sometimes it happens, But in this case, it didn't. I'll just think of those things as they come to me. I have a little note on my iPhone. I note things down. I've got movie clips noted down. I don't even know where I'm going to put them. I just note them down. Yeah, I mean, for example, I love the Jaws clip when Hooper is tying off the barrels, and Quint's about to shoot, and Quint's going, come on, and Hooper goes, don't wait for me, and he's tying off the barrels. We have a thing in the house where whenever someone's running late, they go, don't wait for me. It's just a dumb thing we do. I've wanted to use the don't wait for me clip in a video for ages. Never had a chance to use it. The other day, me and Jen did a race together. She was running away from me and leaving me behind. And so I dropped the don't wait for me clip into the video. So sometimes it's like, oh, that's where I can use it. So sometimes sometimes the clip precedes the use of it. And then sometimes, like on the bike run, I'm thinking, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Sometimes the event kind of pulls the clip into it.
Yeah.
There's no science to it, but when it happens, that for me is like, oh, that's cool. That's the bit I love. I love that.
I love it.
For me, I have to love YouTube. I'd rather make a fraction of the money I could make, and love it than anything else.
That's very nice. I could keep chatting to you all day, but I do have a hard stop in about, well, it should be in 2 minutes, but let's say 5. I've got a very auntie daughter waiting, so I've got 2 final questions for you,
Okay.
and then we'll wrap this up. Let's grab the attention back in for those that have got lost in a world of thinking they're going to have to do 10 years on the stand-up circuit before they can record a YouTube video. Let's talk about making money. So I'd be curious. So the business owners watching this, they say, okay, creating content, but they're doing it for the purpose of making money, not from an advertising perspective, but I'm curious as to sponsorship or how you make money. So if I think about it, Mark, I've got resonance with you because I've also got a sauna just the other side of this wall here. I've also got an Oura ring. But there's several purchases that I've made directly because of you. I'm waiting the installation of my yo-yo standing desk, which came as a result of exactly a result of one of your videos.
Yeah,
so,
I can move it up and down. It's going up. I love it.
I watched that video. I'm having one of those, and it's ordered now. It's just not arrived yet. But the point is, so for those watching, they're going, okay, yeah, creating content, stories, humor, fantastic. And what thought do you give to, I suppose, product placement? I suppose because those videos feel good quality reviews. It doesn't feel like a sales pitch. I just watched it and went, this looks fantastic. I want one of those.
It's okay. So I'm very, very lucky in that because of my past business history, I don't need to make a large amount of money off of YouTube in order to pay my bills. I could effectively I could retire at this point. So YouTube is extra income. If I didn't have that, if I had to make a lot of money off YouTube, I'd probably be a bit more commercial about it. Excuse me. I don't like doing product reviews. I don't like doing sponsorship videos. I don't like doing I don't like to do any of that at all because, quite frankly, why would you want to watch it? So as where I give into that slightly is if I'm using a product where I think, actually, forget sponsorship, forget adverts, this is just damn cool. So, for example, my watch, I wear a Phoenix watch. My desk, it's something that I just think, do you know what? If I was talking to my mates in the pub, I would say my mates are all fat and useless, so they wouldn't care. But if I was talking to healthy, fit people in the pub, I'd say, do you know what you need? You need to get yourself a standing desk. And I would talk half an hour about it because I just love it. So if it's something like that, I'll talk about it. If it's something that I just think, yeah, I like that. I get offered every single day to talk about things that I just think, no, don't want to. They go, oh, hundreds of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds now sometimes. Don't care, don't want it. So product placement, it has to be something I love. And it almost isn't an advert. If I get the desk, I didn't pay for the desk, £1,000 desk, have it for free. But if I hadn't, I'd have gone and bought the thing. I like it. So if I wouldn't have bought it, I don't talk about it. Sponsorship is then a bit different because sponsorship breaks into, so like Squarespace sponsors some of my videos. Well, they give me money if I put in a 30-second bit about them. And the kind of the deal with the devil that I made there was I said, you know what, I use Squarespace for my own website. I like their product. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, website development, but I like it, I use it, and the money they pay is significant enough that it helps me do more videos. It helps me do YouTube. And I think that people get that if they want me, they want to see me, they have to accept that I have to get paid somehow. I can't do a full-time job producing videos for nothing. So they're the three things. One, I try not to do anything at all with products because I don't really like it. Two, love a product, I'm happy to include it. And three, there are times where I make a decision to step outside of what I'd like to do, but do it for the money if I can justify it back to. But you know, for example, I get offered to talk about some products as a, hey, this company sponsored the video type product that I just have. It might be a great product, I just don't use. I don't. So I'd literally be saying, here's an advert, as opposed to be saying with Squarespace, I say literally, here's my website. I like it. It's an advert, but it's something that I use. And if I didn't have a Squarespace contract, I'd go and buy a Squarespace website myself. So I do that. I mean, the thing that comes with views, once you get to 50,000 subscribers and beyond, the sponsorship opportunity, I could have every single video I do, every video sponsored at about £1,000 a video if I wanted. That there are people offering to sponsor videos all the time. So if I did, as I'm now going to step up to doing 2 videos a week, so 8 a month, I could get £8,000 a month in sponsorship. Forget YouTube revenue alone. But then every time you watch one of my videos, you're going to know that it's going to get broken into halfway by me advertising something, and that doesn't. I don't want to see that. So I limit myself to just 2 a month from Squarespace, and that's it.
I love it. And finally, Mark, obviously we will put the links to your YouTube channel and any other links that you want in the
to my Squarespace website.
Yeah, exactly.
Squarespace.
in the show notes. Well, any final top tips? So if somebody listening to this, they're a business owner and they're perhaps like me, just kind of going, you know what? I'm a consumer. I watch YouTube, but I've not perhaps leveraged it from a business point of view. What if you were advising yourself back starting, or if you're speaking to somebody right now that kind of goes, you know what, there might be an opportunity to develop some content that's going to support my business? What would you, to put you on the spot, what would your top 2 or 3 tips be?
Well, first of all, I would say that the YouTube production, it's creative. You are. I'm sure there are companies out there who just approach it purely commercially and do fine, but it's creative. Even if it's an advert, it's a creative exercise, and if you have to enjoy that, I think. So if you're thinking all the things we've just spoken about, scripting and thought, and is it a story? If all that bores you stupid, or you just don't, it means nothing to you, I'd question whether using YouTube is even the right way to go. But if you think, do you know what, I might be in the business of whatever, selling widgets for radiators or something, but I like movies, I like artistic endeavor, I think I could write a novel. You know, you've got something in you that says there's something creative there, then absolutely. I mean, it is, for me, the best thing about YouTube is I just think as human beings, we're kind of hardwired to create and entertain. And when you do something where your job doesn't create and entertain, I always felt I was a bit lacking. I always kind of felt like, there was a part of what I could offer the world, as it were, that wasn't coming out. So I think if you're running a business and there's a part of you that thinks, I was a financial advisor, I was a fat, useless financial advisor, but I still had it back in my head, I feel creative in some way. I don't know what it is, I don't know what. I want to make something. I even thought that before YouTube existed. If that's you, then absolutely go for it, because once you love it, then the best job in the world. And I see some businesses online that have started doing things. I follow a watch company, a fancy pants watch company, and they started doing reviews of the watches they sell. and their reviews were brilliant. They were funny and entertaining. And I thought, this is a company, yeah, they're doing this because they want to sell more watches, but these guys, they're enjoying producing this content. There's another motorcycle company I follow, a company called Revzilla in America. When they do their reviews of their motorcycle gear, they are entertaining, they're funny, they enjoy, and you watch it and you're just entertained. It's an advert, but it's been made by somebody that enjoys the creative process. And those two things, ka-ching, because you're now getting people watching, you're selling your product if that's what you're after, but you're enjoying it too, and that comes across. And you can tell when you watch adverts on TV that have been made, you don't see it so much nowadays, but back in the day when Tony Scott was making the Saab adverts that got in the Top Gun gig, and you watch that advert of a Saab racing down the wrong way, and you think, this is an advert, but man, this has been made by someone that loves content creation and then becomes Tony Scott. That for me is where those two things of commercialism and content creation just work perfectly. You've got something to sell, but you love the idea of doing it in a way that is creative and entertaining. And you watch back and you think, I enjoy watching that. Forget that it's selling my product, whether I'm laughing or I'm crying or I'm excited, it's stirring an emotion in me. I like what I've done there. That's when you've nailed it. And the same, my video for the desk, it's not the best video I've done, but I look back on it, I watch it, I think, you know what? That's an enjoyable 10 minutes spent watching what is effectively an advert for a desk. But I still enjoyed it. I didn't feel like I was watching an advert for whatever, washing up liquid or something.
Yeah, so, I love it. Well said. Some great thoughts in there. It's definitely got me thinking. And I'm also, indirectly we've been plugging more Yo-Yo standing desks via this. Maybe I'll do a video when I get my standing desk. They
are great. I mean, again, it's a good. If it's something I get sent. When I started YouTube, I used to think it'll be so exciting when I get offered free things. That to me was the goal, just keep something for free. And now I get offered 10 free things a day, and I have to say no to 10 people offering me the most useless tat on earth. Sometimes incredibly expensive stuff, but just thinking, what am I going to do with that? What am I going to do with whatever, a scalp massager? I don't need a £10,000 scalp massage or whatever nonsense. Company the other day offered me a 3 flights, free hotel, free hair transplant. My wife was like, awesome, 5-star hotel. Where I was like, no. No to everything. If it's not something I'm using, we're done.
Yes, and it's not free, right? It's not free. So very good one, Mark. So I've loved it. I've really enjoyed this. I hope the guys check out the channels. I'm certainly a subscriber, and I better go and get myself in the gym, get my High Rock session in, and I will be seeing you in a few months at High Rocks. High Rocks Birmingham.
Great interview. I can see why you like the guy, and got some great tips on there.
He's a definite man crush for me. I mean, he's not quite in Warren's league, but
right.
But yeah, for
that would be Warren Buffett for those who have never listened to this podcast before. Dan cannot go without ever mentioning Warren Buffett's name.
Oh, he's a legend. Podcast. And if you want, Warren Buffett's not usually exemplified in the arena of fitness, but just to give him a little plug, this is a man who's in his 90s who
crushing it.
Who is, if you look at him energetically, unbelievable. Yep. Energetic, passionate, and I think he says he still drinks 2 to 3 Coca-Colas a day. And he's got the worst diet, and he's very open. He said he found what he enjoyed eating and drinking about 6 years old, and he's just stuck with it ever since.
I think that says 2 things. Number one, it talks about how longevity of life can definitely be tied to wealth. There's certain exceptions, but definitely the man takes care of himself in other ways. And number 2, how longevity of life is linked to happiness.
Actually, on that point, I'm getting very tangential here, but and I can't remember the source, but it was pretty reliable research. Again, I'm into research and stats on health and fitness. That the single most reliable indicator of whether you survive or die from a heart attack, the single most reliable indicator, do you know what it was? not cholesterol, not blood pressure, not obesity. The single most reliable indicator whether you die or survive
Was there somebody to
is
dial
your level
emergency?
of... No. That's very non-empathetic, Topher. There's people listening to this that, honestly, I do not condone this behavior. So I know somebody had a heart attack recently. So
What were you just saying about snowflakes a minute ago?
fair point. So I've completely lost my track of thought.
What's the single most important thing if
Oh,
you
what
have
do
a
you
heart
do?
attack?
Right. Job satisfaction or dissatisfaction.
Really?
Yes, and I don't remember the source because I read this several years ago. But all I remember it was some major institution. I think it was in the US. I forget. It was like the Mayo Clinics, but it probably wasn't them. But I'll see if I can dig it out. But it was like a proper, serious study with a lot of people, so statistically relevant. And they analysed all this data, and then they found out this obscure little, almost like a random throwing question. It was a level of job dissatisfaction dictate whether you were going to die or not.
Unbelievable. All right, so good to know. I better love my job if I have a heart attack. Good to know. All right, let's move on. Let's
I know. I thought you were going to say, "I better love my job."
Believe me, there were several jokes that I edited out of my head, going, "Nope, that breaks our respect rule. That breaks our respect rule." Lots of them there. All right, let's.
The funny thing is, this is us attempting to be. We're centering by attempting to be. So, listeners, this is our politically correct episode.
Yes, this is the politically correct episode where Dan told everybody during the holidays that are a bit emotional to go fuck themselves. That's right.
Okay, we need to carry on.
All right, let's move on to the book of the week.
The book of this week is an absolute classic. It's Blue Ocean Strategy. Blue Ocean Strategy. I cannot pronounce the authors' names, or certainly one of their names. I think it's W. Chan Kim and Renee A. Mauborn.
Works for me. Yeah, I'm sure they're used to it.
I mean, this is one of the best-selling books, business books of the last 20 years.
Sell it to me in 60 seconds. What's the main theme of the book? And by the way, I agree. I freaking love this book.
So the best way, selling it to you in 10 seconds is, the best way to beat the competition is stop trying to beat the competition.
Yeah.
In Blue Oceans, demand is created rather than fought over. So how do you create a space? How do you create your own space? And you just go there. So it's not all competitive sweeping. So another great...
Red Ocean is where the blood's at because everybody's feeding off of the same thing. And their thing is go to the Blue Ocean where nobody's eating. And that's where you can feed.
This is my favorite quote from the book. Go where the profits are and where the competition isn't.
Yeah. One of their greatest examples in that book was Cirque du Soleil, how they completely reinvented the circus because what they did, and this is the strategy in the book that talks about, which is identify the things that your customers hate, eliminate them from your product or service, find things that they love that aren't in your product and service and add them in. That's exactly what Cirque du Soleil did, right? What do people hate in the circus? The animal cruelty. Great, so they got rid of all the animals. What do they love? The clowns, so they kept them. What's something else that they like that isn't at the circus? Rock concerts. And they brought in that music. By the way, little side fact, I know the guy that came up with the idea for Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Tito Gaiona. He was of the Flying Gaionas. His family made Ringling Brothers famous with the trapeze.
Yes.
He has a trapeze school down in Sarasota. We're good friends. And because he's like the key person of influence in the circus world, when the Canadian company that developed Cirque du Soleil, when they came up with the idea, it was Tito that they turned to, and he was like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And get rid of this and get rid of that. And he was kind of the genius behind it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And rumor has it that you're going to invite him to come along to our next Success Mastermind event.
Oh, he would probably love to do that. You put him on a plane, he'd probably be happy to come out. Yeah.
I mean that's wow.
Dude, he's one of the best storytellers out there as well. You would absolutely love the guy. I mean, this is a guy who has met the Beatles, Elvis,
Oh,
the
that'd
Rolling
be so-
Stones, the Queen, right? Like he's performed for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's fascinating. Well, it makes me think of how has he influenced them, right? Because he's a performer.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny. Just you even telling that story, I'm like, I want to go to see Cirque du Soleil again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in fact. Side note, from a company valuation point of view, for those listening, they compared the valuation of Cirque du Soleil and also Blue Man Group.
Oh,
Right.
that is my favorite all-time show.
With I think Penn and Teller, and who are the guys that did the
Siegfried and
Lions?
Roy.
Yeah. And they were basically saying that in the short term, the individual performers were like making more income, more profit, but in the big picture, longevity and valuation, it was 1,000 miles apart, right? Because Cirque du Soleil and Blue Man Group was replicable. It was a brand. It was a product. It wasn't based purely on the individuals. If Penn and Teller don't show up,
Yeah.
right? It's not happening. Or
Show's not happening.
Or if one of your tigers attacks you,
Yeah.
right?
Go ahead and laugh at that one now, Dan. Talk about the snowflakes.
Yeah. Okay.
Too soon?
I was gonna say, sue me, but he could. So don't edit that out. Edit that out.
It's staying in. Anyway, awesome book. We kind of got a little bit off track there talking about Cirque du Soleil, but it was the book goes into great detail on how they found a completely blue ocean and redefined. And by the way, crushed the competition to where Ringling Brothers ceased to exist now.
I'll give you a small example that illustrates Blue Ocean strategy perfectly, even though I've not asked permission, so I'm going to have to speak it. I'm going to have to anonymize it. So I've got a private client who's been around for. He's been a private client for 7 years, and the first 2 or 3 years he was in a red ocean. So he was in an industry just competitive. He was doing good. He was a good operator. He was making money, right? So he was mid 6-figure revenues, low 6-figure profits, but it wasn't really dependent on him. He was doing good. By most small business standards, he's doing good. Anyway, he hit on a blue ocean strategy, and it just hit the sweet spot. And within 3 years, he had 7-figure net profits.
Wow.
7-figure net. So he went from let's say 100K net to over $1 million net in under 3 years, and he stayed there. And in fact, he's actually a multi 7-figure net now. And it was fundamentally because he found a blue ocean. He found a blue ocean, which was, and actually interestingly, he took the idea into a different country. Because it was being done in one country, but it wasn't really exposed in another country. He took it, and it just absolutely exploded. And I remember saying to him, I said, look, you need to make hay while the sun's shining, because whenever anybody makes money, thanks.
Just so you know, that was not a fart. That was my dog deciding to shake off.
That's the sign we're getting too long on the podcast.
Yes,
She needs
when
to
the
go
dog
pee.
wakes up, it's like, I gotta go pee now.
Yeah. So cutting to the chase, that he was making money so quickly. I went, people are going to catch up. Because whenever you find a blue ocean, people will try and catch
Swim
up with
to
you.
it, yeah.
And I remember less than 6 months later, he's like, right, they're coming now. They're coming, because he made so money so easily. And I said, no disrespect. It's not that you don't deserve the money. You absolutely do. Just know that it's coming so easily. There's no way that people aren't going to try to. And that concept, finding that blue ocean, is what this book's all about.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's move on from the book and let's talk about the quote of the week.
The quote of the week this week is from one of the co-founders of HubSpot. That's Brian Halligan. I love this quote, which is, what separates good content from great content is a willingness to take risks and push the envelope.
And that's why I love this quote, because it's kind of contrarian to this first thing of OVO, in that they were pushing the envelope, they were taking chances. And as much as I think they were tone deaf, they do deserve to be awarded for trying to be creative. Didn't work out for them, but they should.
We'll see if they're rewarded in terms of share price. But we only get to find that out. We only get to find that out later.
Yes. All right. Listen. All right. Great quote. Let's wrap it up, my friend. Let's move on.
So as always, look, Sophie, if you want a better business, you need to become a better business owner.
Well said.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. 3 things you need to do now. Number 1, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you do not miss an episode. Also, get on over to Amazon to get a copy of my latest book, Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity, 9.5 steps to improving your profits and cash flow. Also, join our Facebook group, the Turnover is Vanity, Profit is Sanity community, to connect with other business owners.